What's going on, guys? Winner Kills here. We are back with another post-commentary duel video. So I'm playing Spellbooks against my brother's Draco deck here on the right, or on the left. I'm playing Spellbooks on the right. I think this is the first time I've recorded a match of me playing Spellbooks versus anything. If I've played this deck on camera before, I'm not sure. I can't remember. It's definitely been a couple years since I have, so I'm probably just not the greatest Spellbook player in the world. Although I'm trying to be decent, I guess, is what I should say. Don't expect, perfect, top-notch level plays. Trying to be a Renaissance man and be decent at, a plethora of decks. But I decided I'd play Spellbooks because I don't think I've had this deck on a duel video in quite some time. Pure Spellbooks, that is. So my opponent goes first, Ignis, chipping away the summon limit, which, he knows isn't too great against my deck. And then I'll set 2. I summon Priestess to start things off, and he won't chain to that to add a spell. And I go ahead and use Knowledge here. I'm going to double Knowledge. I decide to ditch the other Knowledge based on what else is in my hand. And then I go ahead and power Priestess up here with Spellbook of Power, bring it up to 3,500. And then he is going to activate, the Spiritual Swords of Revealing Light. Now, it doesn't negate the attack. He does pay 1,000, but I do have Spellbook of Wisdom in my hand, and I'm, to be honest, not 100% sure if this is something that can be done. I don't know, what specific ruling is going to get thrown at this sort of play. Now, I've, of course, called on Spellbook of Wisdom unaffected by traps, so I would think that would prevent Spiritual Sword from being able to negate High Priestess attacks, and she is unaffected by traps for the remainder of the turn. So he would pay the 1,000. I would chain to negate the attack, and then the attack would go through, and he would take the extra 1,100, and then I would get to search after I destroy the monster by battle, and then I grab Secrets. Secrets grabs me Blue Boy, or in some fashion. So I go ahead and search. Now I'm searching off Blue Boy. I go to add another Wisdom here. Again, one thing I think my biggest issue with Spellbooks is just resource management. I've never been great with that on a grand scheme. Just resource management has just been not my key point. And I've used Priestess there to destroy his set Heritage. Which I think I didn't set anything prior to that, so he luckily didn't have anything to destroy, so smart play by me, I guess. Trying to predict, perhaps it could have been a card he might have could have gotten an effect off if I destroyed it, but resource management I think is my biggest thing. Right now I think I have Fate and Wisdom set, which Wisdom I think in this matchup is one of the most important cards, but too bad I only play 2 copies of it. He's going to Tribute Disciples, and that is going to destroy Tower. Now I go ahead, and I have a couple options to summon off Tower. I can summon off Blue Boy, I can summon out Temperance, or I can summon out Kaiku. Kaiku I don't think is that great right now, and I decided to summon out Temperance to put on a little added pressure, because next turn I could use that to summon out another High Priestess, and then I get 2 free pops during my turn, which could be kind of threatening. So I want to put it on the board as a bit of a threat, hey, if you don't get rid of this, it's going to lead to more trouble down the road, so you now have to deal with this and sort of ignore other cards that I might have. But we have 5 Spellbooks engraved. Currently, we have the Knowledge, the Power, the Wisdom, the Secrets, and the Tower. And I think I have another Power in hand, which I think it's my fault right now to not have prioritized some way to get a Secrets in hand. Granted, I probably should have added an Eternity and banished the Secrets off of Priestess, so I would have had, and even right now with Fate being played, I could have added Eternity to hand to have access to any one of the banished books that I'd be, banishing off of Fate this turn that I could add back next turn with Eternity. So I think that was one misplay that I think I could have just prevented, just if I would have added Eternity and had a little bit more future sight. But like I said, resource management is kind of tough with this deck sometimes, because it's so easy to go through so many spells in a given turn. So I fade his Majesty Maiden because I don't want him running over anything, and then he's going to go ahead and pop my set Wisdom, and I chain that, target Temperance to make him unaffected by traps. so I don't have to worry about losing him to perhaps a tribute, a late tribute or something. You know, if he didn't use the his normal summon yet and has a spell player you could use, or if he hadn't used his normal summon and like grabs a trap here and tributes for something, he could possibly get rid of that, and then I don't have, of course, the play next turn to be able to, you know, summon out a level 5 or higher Light or Dark Spellcaster from my deck for pretty much free. And it could be World at this point as well, too. So that's kind of a threat for him, since I can add back 2 Spellbooks from grave to hand with World. And then if I can, I could reveal 4 different ones to blow up the field. Luckily, I draw Secrets for turn, so I get, like, super uber lucky here. He's got 1 set. Still has that Spiritual Swords, which is kind of a big issue for me. Especially since he flips up Apocalypse here, and this sort of forces out that trap use onto Temperance, which I guess is perfectly fine, because then I can go ahead and make some other plays. I don't have to worry about losing my Priestess here, but there's a couple of cards on his field that are making things a little difficult for me, and one is obviously the Spiritual Swords, because power does nothing without that. And same thing with the Dragonic Diagram. So basically, Dragonic Diagram and Spiritual Swords are making Spellbook of Power pretty much useless right now, apart from its, you know, just the attack gain, the raw attack gain. There will be no opportunity to search, and I think I might have let that sort of decide my plays a little too much. So, because with power, in order to get the search, the spellcaster that you boost up has to destroy a monster by battle, and after it's destroyed, you will get to search. But as you know, the diagram is preventing all of his true Draco or true King monster from being destroyed by battle once, and of course he's got the Spiritual Swords on board as well to just pay 1,000 to negate any attack to stop the attacks from going through in the first place. So I think right now my priority would be to get rid of Spiritual Swords, perhaps Diagram actually, just so he doesn't get any more advantage during his next turn. I go ahead and use Knowledge, get rid of the blue boy, and draw into 2 cards. I believe one is a Solemn Strike, which is not that great in this matchup, which is kind of unfortunate. I banish Power here for Priestess, and I'm thinking of what I want to go ahead and pop. I think I go ahead and I get rid of Diagram, because I can just make him take another 1,000 damage if he decides to, you know, pay for the Spiritual Swords, which I imagine he will. So I think the more threatening card as turns go on, in this case, is obviously the Diagram, so I feel like it's best I just get rid of that in the first place, of course, unless he draws really well next turn, which could happen. You know, he has 2 targets engraved right now for Disciples, so that is also something to think about if he can get something else engraved. Of course, that's a live card. That's another draw. And I do pop the Diagram because, like I said, I don't think I want to leave that on his field, because then he can just pop something, get a search, possibly get another target engraved for Disciples, and draw another card on top of that. So I go Battle Phase. Don't decide to invest the power here just because he's going to negate it. Luckily, I can... I think that was probably the better play to make there, instead of like trying to pop the swords and then get more damage in with the power, and we're not worried about searching. But he has Demise, and he plays Demise, which is really, really rough. I don't think I had any way to search Fate that turn. I mean, granted I could. I think another thing there is, like, with the secrets that I drew for turn, if I would have just searched Fate, I would have had, you know, Blue Boy still on board, and then 3 Fate targets. But that, like, really just burns all of my resources, you know, for him to do very little. I have to use so much to stop a lot of his plays. And I think this is just a difficult matchup in general. Of course, Spellbook of Wisdom helps out, and it's just... I think with the given cards that I have, and like, he's just gaining advantage a lot faster than I am. Like, he's Demised this turn, he draws into Terraforming off the Disciples, and he's got Diagram just like that. Again, he has Majesty Maiden and Ignis, who are all boosted up by 300, which all can get over my Priestess. Even if I do have the 1 Fate right now, it doesn't matter, because he's going to use get another Tribute Summon on board, because that Ignis obviously was there the prior turn, so he can use his normal summon for the Majesty Maiden, and then use the spell effect, or just the regular normal summon for the other Ignis, and then he can go ahead and draw 2 off of that Heritage. And I decided to scoop it up because it's pretty much game from there on out. Don't really have much to work with. The Dead Solemn Strike not doing me a whole lot of good. Here we are in game 2. I opt to go first, of course. I've sided in some cards. I really wanted to side in Secret Village, but I feel like his deck can just out it so easily. So I play Knowledge. I thought it originally discarded for cost, but it doesn't, so I just play it. It'll get ashed, which is unlucky. Didn't open up that great of a hand, to be honest. So I have to pass it over to him. Just one set card, and it's unlucky. I know a lot of people had suggested that I play the Mythical Beast engine, which is something I'm definitely looking into, because I feel like it does give you a little bit of a little bit more juice in the tank, as far as making additional plays. You know, when you don't have the best spellbook plays to make, I could see where that engine comes in pretty clutch, because you do play a lot of spells, you get counters on them, you get some negations, gives a little more pressure on board sometimes, which I think is, you know, something the deck needs. I've been playing, I think I edited this build since, I think I cut some Solemns in the main deck for faster traps like Torrential Tribute. So I've bumped up my Torrential from 2 to 3, and I put triple hand trap, triple effect Valor in the main deck, because I think it's the best spell, like, hand trap to play synergistically, simply because it's a spellcaster. And in worst case scenario, if I need to use something, you know, under Secret Village, which I'm also maining again now at 2, because I feel like the option to just have that card in your deck against a lot of decks is just really, really good. You know, obviously if the true Draco player here doesn't open up that well, you know, he can lose pretty hard to that Secret Village, and it'll just allow me a couple turns to gain some advantage. You know, I do use the Fate there, which is nice. I banish one to return the set. He opts not to chain it. And then I power up the Kaiku, but, like, he still has Diagram on board, and I have no way to deal with the Diagram, making power pretty much useless. I'll be able to get the banish effect, but on the, you know, on the Ash Blossom, it's not too great. Sacked pretty hard there off that one Ash Blossom, which he did side in, I think, like 3 Drone Lock and 2 Ash Blossoms, so pretty rough. Didn't see any called buys, which, you know, I did side in. I think I sided in called buys and Secret Villages, I think I might have sided in Zaphion as well. I'm not entirely sure, can't remember. But definitely the build, I think, needs a little work. I think I need a little work as terms of resource management goes. I would definitely like to try out the Mythical Beast engine, but keep believing in me, I guess. I do really like Spellbooks. I think it's not a half bad deck right now, but one update I do have to say is that the Photon Galaxy deck is on its way. I've ordered pretty much everything else that I need. I'm going to be proxying all the stuff that's coming out in the new Battles of Legends set, number 90, Photon Vanisher, etc., etc. Really, really excited to play that deck. I'll probably be getting an early deck profile of it. I'll probably be doing some duel videos. Very, very excited to play Photon Galaxy again, since it's finally got some decent support. So yeah, hope you guys enjoyed this duel video. If you did, be sure to thumbs it up and leave a comment if you got one. Feel free to throw some suggestions, some spellbook tips. I don't know. I could use a little help. As you might see, I might be under-resourcing, over-resourcing. I don't know. But appreciate all the feedback as usual, guys. And as always, when we kill signing out, we'll see you in the next one.